According to a study by Dubai Economy, the UAE is currently the most advanced e-commerce market in the Middle East and North Africa, revealing an estimated annual growth of 23% between 2018 and 2022. Now, even in this market, there are the digital natives who had an online presence, and then the incumbents who are shuffling and struggling to get their operations online if they did not want to press pause to their businesses. Now, that's the thing, right? If you get the tech right, you've got a golden goose. If you get it wrong, you are the roasted goose. Well, today we attempt on exploring a little more on this subject. Welcome to Retail ME's virtual roundtable on retailing to e-tailing.
Khalid, we spoke about how online has been overwhelming, right? We spoke about organizations that were not flexible, had to bend out, had to move out, and it was overwhelming experience. Now, when we look at the challenges that the surge brought to us as retailers, one of the things was supply chain. So how did you overcome the challenges in your supply chain as you dealt with this new way of doing business?
Yeah, of course. It is well, overwhelming, yes, but again, it is more of an eye-opener for us. Supply chain was or is the most tested part of the operations we have in our current new business approach post-COVID. Supply chain, the serious challenge they faced is it used to traditionally serve the offline business, which we all built an efficient supply chain system to serve the offline in-store experience, and suddenly now it is serving omni-channels. It's serving everything, and that's a major shift in our capabilities. So, as you mentioned, you need to do serious investments in your in warehouse technologies and utilization and efficiencies, and externally in your agreements, in your arrangements, and in your value adding process. But from where I sit in the organization, I see key issues you need always to monitor in your supply chain. And I would simply say, and I'm sure Atul from his financial position will agree with the first one, which is cash flow. Cash flow is a key vital issue you need always to pay attention to, because stocks, warehouses, any investment you do in the supply chain hits your cash flow significantly. And the crisis comes with elements of stress to your cash flow. So if you are in a booming time because of the crisis, you need a serious working capital investments. If you are in a stagnation time because of based on the sector, then you need to manage your stocks, and it depends upon the sector you are serving. Time is your enemy, and you need to drain it, and you need to be creative about it, because provisions will eat you alive. So cash flow is an issue you need always to manage in the supply chain. Second would be your suppliers and supplier agreements, because there is a sudden change in the trend and in the market, and those changes were not forecasted at any point of time. So they came suddenly, and your agreements never incorporated such changes. So in your supply chain, you need to revisit your suppliers. You need more replenishing, you need less, whatever. This is a heavy discussion, which involves financial team, legal team, operational team. Everybody is involved in such a discussion. And then you go to the other side, which is an external part of the change in the supply chain, which is the customer expectation. Before offline, customer expectation, he will come and ask for his product. Sometimes you tell him not available. Sometimes you will commit with him, he will book, you will deliver. But online, for the omni-channel, customer expectation became in minutes, in delivery, in returns, in lots of things. And you lose your customer in a fraction of a minute. So customer expectation is a serious issue, and supply chain plays a key role in satisfying such customer expectations.
Thank you, Khalid. To summarize what you said, so you went across a lot of different areas in supply chain, right? And I think what I picked up was first the change of the traditional supply chain that was designed to deliver everything inside the store. Now we have to move it to omni-channel, right? And that requires a lot of investment, and that's where your cash flow situation or your cash flow question comes in. I think when we were, interacting with Nick earlier, Nick said they made the changes that were probably happening over a period of 6 years within 6 months. And I think the transformation that we're seeing in the supply chain is probably at the same speed as well. Maybe previously the organizations were planning to have automated fulfillment centers and additional investment to cater to e-commerce. But now that the pandemic was upon us and we had to make that change, we had to take our existing facilities and then automate it, transform it so that it's able to cater to the e-commerce, right? It was not something that we had time and the luxury to build upon. So from cash flow perspective, it was what systems do I have? How do I enable them? How do I digitize them so that I'm able to then start transforming myself to cater to the new need of the customer. So that's very interesting. We have in fact seen as we speak to a lot of customers in the region where traditional warehouses have been turned into fulfillment centers. Simple methodologies or simple changes that were brought around picking, for example, which was a process, when you are doing picking to deliver into the store and when you're doing picking to deliver at item level on e-commerce, it requires a big change, right? And we did see that a lot of warehouses did make transition into automatic or fully automatic warehouses using robotics and so on from the supply chain perspective. But a key thing that you did speak about was customer expectations towards the end. And that customer expectation and how do you deliver on that customer expectation, that will raise another question that I would have for Atul is, Atul, digital loyalty, right? Let's first talk about customer loyalty. We have a customer loyalty that's working for customers walking inside the store. Shruti did mention earlier, a customer would conclude that transaction, and that's when you would enter a loyalty point, and then we would have the data of what the customer bought. Now with online shopping and omni-channel, those areas are changing, right? How do you measure customer loyalty? So how, rather was the translation of loyalty in store to online difficult for you to achieve is the question.
So, Jose, for very, very good question. It's been, before I talk about the transition from the store to in-store, it's extremely important that, we all know the statistics that, it's 9 times more expensive to bring a new customer than retaining an existing customer and existing customer continuing to shop with you. So the importance of if we are able to make sure the customers are loyal to us, and if we are able to reduce churn, this can significantly impact our marketing budgets, this can significantly impact our retention rate. So it's extremely important. And as Nick or Devir mentioned earlier, somebody that earlier e-com was a very small part. Now with e-com becoming a major chunk of the business, it has become even more important. When in e-com the acquisition of customer is a bit more expensive than what you see in the physical world. Now, we do talk about a lot of synergies within physical and digital world, but equally there are a lot of differences as well when we talk about in-store versus digital. Now, what are these differences, especially in our world, in retail or in fashion apparel? In offline, it's very easy for customers to touch and feel the product. In online, the same. It's very important that the content, the navigation, the imagery, the whole creative part, the way the features of the products, the design, the color, the way it is presented to the customer is able to understand. So, which is much easier in the offline world. When we talk about loyalty, which is what you mentioned, It's some total of many areas. Khalid mentioned about supply chain, about our delivery infrastructure. A very interesting point from Nick that people talk about a lot of these new things, but just a simple offering online. In stores we have a very good offering, but on offering online sometimes is much lesser. And just by changing that, we can significantly impact customer loyalty. So all in all, if you ask us, the work has to be done on all these areas, improving offering online, ensuring the product is represented well online, ensuring delivery infrastructure is well. If we are promising to the customer that the merchandise, the product will reach you within 2 to 3 days, it's important to fulfill that promise. All these things have a very important role to play in building that loyalty. So a lot of things have to come together for the loyalty to come alive online. And we've put in efforts in all these areas, but as you rightly said, online, having loyalty is a much more difficult thing than offline. But I would have a slightly different perspective to it, that it also offers more opportunities. In one of the technology questions, you touched upon an area that today in online we're able to get so much more data, so much more understanding of our consumer. How long you're watching a product, did you like the product, what was your conversion rates. There are so many metrics. Like in offline world, it's very difficult to see whether a consumer can, how long a consumer was looking at a product. Very difficult to see. In online world, we can see how much time consumer is spending on our website, on our apps. Is the consumer engaged enough? So although it is, just to summarize the point that I'm making, is that although it is more difficult to achieve loyalty online, but it is more rewarding to try and achieve loyalty online, because it's more rewarding. It offers more opportunities, because when you understand your consumer, you can use that data, that understanding to engage the consumer more versus the offline world.
Thanks, Atul. I think to conclude what you are saying, it is difficult, right? It's not that easy in terms of looking at how we were dealing with the consumers in offline mode versus online mode. And while we struggle with these difficulties and new ways of measuring customer loyalty and the new metrics that online does allow us to do, one critical component of the traditional way of retailing was our people, right? Was our staff. When they face the customers, how they talk, how they interact. And with this change in the consumer behavior, the skill set of the staff and how they interact has also become a question mark. So the next question that I will have for Nick is, Nick, can you tell us, how did you retrain your staff, or how did you upskill them so they were able to take care of this new norm, or interact with the customers in this new norm?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because with the surge in e-commerce and the appetite for online, a lot of people would tend to forget that the heart of retail is still the store. So and especially the people in the store, our staff over there, and it's our responsibility as a group, as a family business, Shaloop Group, to take these people on, to future-proof themselves as well, because we all know that the traditional retail model that we all know, if you don't want to, or if you don't believe in a new future, obviously that old model is broken. So we need to think ahead. So it's important for us to take that responsibility and to retrain our staff. Now, it's important to understand, first and foremost, what we want to accomplish with our people. And so when the store started closing, locking down, there were on the one hand direct clienteling, and so the staff reaching out to their customers that they know on WhatsApp, creating looks, creating when it comes to fashion, or sending their favorite perfumes on WhatsApp, and trying to sell. So direct clienteling on the one hand. That's one thing. The other hand, we had to train them for fulfillment from stores. So a couple of stores, we revamped them into fulfillment centers. So we didn't have to open warehouses, because if in the lockdown, if you need to launch a new website in a matter of weeks, you don't just go and rent a new warehouse, put all your stock there. No, you use what you have, as you already rightly said. So we looked at our flagship stores that were closed then, and revamped them into fulfillment centers. So that's number two, fulfilling from store. And number three is now stores are open again. We want our staff to be advocates, and that was before already. Before Corona, we already wanted to them to be ambassadors and advocates for online, but now even more so, because everyone knows that it's super important. Now it's easy to say, okay, these are the three big areas we want to focus on: direct clienteling, fulfillment from store, and referral to online business. But it's a different challenge to make sure that they are on that same track, and the staff. And there's four things that we really work on in Faces, but just wider as Shaloub Group. So one, there's education. So we really train our people. We take a lot of pride in our Shaloub Academy, where we really want to make sure that people understand what e-commerce is, why we do this, to listen to them, to listen to their questions, their concerns, and answer them in the best possible way. Because a lot of times, we expect people to do something, but we don't give them the tools to do so. We don't provide them with the knowledge. So that's number one. Number two is constant communication and making sure that everything is on the same line. So consistent communication towards our staff, what we want to achieve, why we want to achieve it. This is our forecast. This is the target. This is the number that we're hitting. This is what you can do to optimize, and so on. Number three is remuneration. Obviously, there should be, if you want things to move. I've always been taught you need to have a stick and a carrot. So we have targets, and we have bonuses, commissions, where we work with, both for fulfillment from store and for sales driven from our staff. And then number four is iteration. So you can propose something. But with the growth hacking mindset, you start something, and after 4 weeks, you look at the results, you listen to the people, and you improve on that situation. Because sometimes you launch a new process which doesn't make sense, and by listening to the people and giving them a forum to vent, to give us the feedback, then that's great. So I think that's how we try to do it. So education, communication, remuneration, and iteration. Those are the four areas that we really want to that we really work on with our staff to bring them in this journey of e-commerce and omni-channel, wider. But we need to take them in an e-commerce journey to create an omni-channel business.
Right. No, thanks, Nick, for that insight. I think the founding stone here is the Shaloub Academy that possibly did assist your staff and your sales force to go through it. And interestingly, you did mention, I mean, thanks for sharing that information with us, that they got into direct clienteling using WhatsApp, right? So that's complete. That's more personalized way of reaching out to your customers for sure. And very interesting perspective on that. You did speak about somewhere about your flagship stores turning into fulfillment centers as well, right, during the pandemic, because there was a shutdown, and then you had to find a way of how fast you could turn around, looking at the new norm. So you did bring those changes into your operation. So if I were to go to Dini, did you make any operational changes to meet the new demands, just like what we heard from Shaloub? Dini, you are on mute, Dini.
Apologies for the bad connectivity earlier, Josefa. I hope you can hear me clearly now. Okay, great. So for us, there were quite a lot of changes that we made, but I just want to kind of first contrast our situation with Carrot Lane, who we had acquired in 2016. So Carrot Lane is an online retailer, born digital company, and compared to that, Titan is a physical incumbent organization, and completely two different organizations. So what we've discovered, and the journey for us started quite some time back, is that the sweet spot is really in the middle. The Digital guys have to acquire physical capabilities. Physical incumbents like us need to acquire digital capabilities. And what COVID has done is it's really accelerated this whole journey. The whole buying experience, the time spent online, all of that has dramatically changed. So, for instance, we found that a lot of our store staff, after the stores reopened, post the lockdown periods, were idle because customers were simply not turning up in stores. So then one of the things that we did was use the CRM to start doing courtesy calls back to customers, checking in with them, saying, hey, we know that you're not able to come to the store. How are you guys doing? Are things okay? And just having a conversation, saying that we are around, and whenever you want to come, you can come in. And also encouraging customers to go online and start looking at products, right? So that whole aspect of assisted commerce, helping a customer figure out things and start to buy. So the sequence in a way was to get a customer to come onto your website, see the products that they like. We had robotic chat. We also built live chat, and now we've scaled up the live chat from about 5-6 people to 25 people. So there again, the fact that you have an agent who, like in the store, a store associate could assist you to buy something. The agent here figures out what you're looking for, and often searching online is bewildering. Sometimes when you have more choices, it makes it more difficult for the customer to find what they want. So offering a live chat, helping them narrow down their choices, and especially in our jewelry business, people want to see the products. So one of the things that we started was video calling from stores. So the stores were omni-integrated. Now, once you've identified what products a customer is interested in, you locate the stores where the products are available, and then you schedule a video call between the customer and the store staff. And we even invested in light boxes, where the jewelry could be shown to the customer in a controlled way, because often on video calls, depending on connectivity, they're not the best ways to showcase jewelry products. So controlling that environment, showcasing the jewelry on a video call, and then if in many cases customers were convinced, they actually bought the product, we shipped it. So in fact, even shipping from India into the US, we did about $2 million worth of shipping to the US in the last 6 months. So people are actually buying products that are, sometimes in certain cases, $10,000. So interestingly, that's changed consumer behavior significantly. The other bit from an operation standpoint is, for instance, because we had to do video calls with the US customers, our operations went 24/7, because you were kind of not just doing it India time, we were doing it US time as well. So in many of these ways, I mean, Omni, the video analytics that Atul touched upon, the analytics that Atul touched upon, retraining employees, that Nick spoke about, and what they did in Shalom. A lot of these aspects, I think, were very, very significant even for us. So the fundamental thing is that the whole pace of digital transformation is just simply accelerated. And I think that's a great thing. I think the choices for consumers, the options for consumers, and the ability to complete the consumer purchase journey either online or physically, depending on what's convenient for you, is what probably the pandemic has changed forever.
Right. Thanks, Dini. You used a very interesting term there, right? It's a middle ground that you spoke about, where a traditional brick and mortar player needs some elements of the online, and the online player needs some elements of the brick and mortar. And that's where you are seeing maybe acquisitions, merger and acquisitions being driven to marry both of these best practices. No, thanks for sharing that information. I think it's interesting to see how you have used robotic chats, and then you did speak about that you saw the increase in live chats, and then you had to upscale your infrastructure to be able to cope up with the live chats as well while your customers interacted with you online. So if I go to the Commerce City, to Divir, so we heard everybody speaking about omni-channel. Right, and everybody's doing their bit to, based on their understanding of what their customer wants, what are the best practices available, and then make that transition. You have the ability to look at retailers who are coming to you seeking facilities or seeking advice on how to make that transformation or that transition. how many of them are getting it right?
Sefa, I'm super happy you've asked this question to me, as it's where a lot of my passion in e-commerce over the last 20 years has been spent in the majority of retailers and trying to develop omni-channel capabilities in the retail organizations I've worked for. Look, we know consumer shopping behavior is changing. It's no more the inside of the store where the customer makes the purchase decision. It's at every touch point where the customer can reach the brand, check prices, compare the products, interact with the brands, read customer reviews before making the actual purchase. Either that by mobile app, by a website, through social media channels, or in store, in the actual physical store itself. This requires retailers' availability everywhere, along with ensuring consistent experience across all channels. Now, bizarrely, some believe delivering basic omnichannel features such as click and collect is all that's required to deliver omnichannel experience. And I believe this is very, very far from the truth. I think customers expect the following from our physical retailers today. One is to able to check stock store availability ahead of their visit to the store, so at least they know the product is available to purchase. So it's not a wasted journey. They can simply go online, check the real-time stock availability of that individual SKU or SKUs in the store. They can see it online, and then they can go to the store knowing it's in stock. Also, it's to able for the customer to be able to return an online store or an online order to a store for an instant exchange or refund, not simply dropping that online order off in the store and then for it to be processed and refunded days or indeed weeks later. I've seen this situation myself where, I've placed an online order, I've gone back to the retail store. Worst case is they say, I can't accept an online order. Back to the store, you need to send it back to an address. Or they will accept it back, but it's taken 2, 3, 4 weeks later for the actual refund to finally come through. Third area is an ability for an order to be placed online, and you actually pay for it in store, and what many call reserve and collect. This simply allows a customer to pre-select products online without paying for them up front, and then to check out the items in store and only pay for the items that they really want. It's simply a bit like try and buy, particularly very, very important for fashion and even beauty. Not only physical retailers can offer this type of service, which is a USP over our pure play e-tailers. And then again, in store, customers expect to be able to place an order for an out of stock SKU or a non-ranged SKU, better known as e-ordering. Here, the online channel can support the physical store with full assortment catalog or an endless aisle, as is commonly known in retail, when a store associate can place an e-order on behalf of the customer and the product can be delivered to their home or collected in store at a later date. Customers also look for additional channels to shop from outside of just the physical stores or the online store of that retailer. These additional channels come from shopping via social media channels. So, coming back to the question that Arjun asked earlier. So that's, shopping via social media channels such as Facebook and Instagram, to using instant messaging platforms such as WhatsApp and Messenger. These chat platforms allow for more personalized and personal shopping experience, where customers can interact with a salesperson asking for advice and recommendations, which is very akin to the experience they would receive in store. Then finally, using online tech in store to deliver solutions such as the smart changing room, displaying customer reviews, comparing products, which is very, very important in the likes of electricals, and then an ability to be able to scan and buy or self-checkout. So there's simply no need to go and queue at a checkout to pay for the items that you simply want to buy and take out of the store. Now, you asked how many are getting omnichannel right. I'd say on a global level, and in my humble opinion, there are very, very few. I think the likes of Apple, Best Buy, Burberry, and Zara do impress me. But I feel they are leading the way. But when you specifically look in this region, I have yet to walk into one physical store offering me this true holistic omni-channel experience that I have just described. Now, I'm going to be quite direct. Retailers have become great at multi-channel. But if retailers want to recruit new customers and hold on to their current customer base into the future, I really believe they need to start executing their omni-channel strategy now.
Thank you, David. I think you have given an interesting perspective. Actually, you took names of possibly the best omni-channel practices that you do see. So you did name Apple, Best Buy, Zara as some good examples. But I think what you did mention is just by onboarding click and collect does not necessarily mean you've got omni-channel, right? So you're very right. I think everybody accelerated somehow to acquire click and collect platforms as part of their journey, but that does not mean you're omni-channel. And I think you've used the right word. You say there is multi-channel.
Yeah.
So you might be multi-channel, but in true sense, you're still far away from being omni-channel.
Correct.